Hi, everyone. Mike White here. Welcome to this week's blog post. We've made it to the first week of August, and tomorrow being the first Friday of the month, we're going to get the jobs report for the month of July. And as always, the jobs report contains valuable information. Since April, we've been, really following what's going on with the jobs report, and subsequently the following week the inflation data, and to be honest, the numbers have not been great, both on the job side and both on the inflation data. And the Fed has been, very fond of the term transitory and keeps dealing with that in its own way. And the markets really have no choice but to go along. And we're seeing lower rates on mortgage loans. We're seeing lower bond prices simply because you can't fight the Fed. Unfortunately, the underlying numbers, and that's what this is really about, the underlying numbers, again, showing significant inflation and nowhere near the jobs growth that people had anticipated. So that yin and yang, that ebb and flow of economic data is something that the Fed will continue to keep its eye on, and us in the mortgage industry have to pay attention to, because while the Fed will say this is transitory and there's not going to be, a rate increase or any thought of tapering in the near future, the reality is the pressure is going to be there, and at some point, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, at some point, they're going to start letting the air out of the balloon. And whether it's a slow trickle out of that balloon or that balloon pops is up to the Fed to negotiate and navigate. And I'm not here to tell you one way or the other whether I think it works or not, but it's something for us to be honest with ourselves and not ignore that where we are in the rate market is not something that's going to be long-lived, and not something that we can count on, although it does present significant opportunities. Housing also, is another issue. We're still seeing, prices go up, although across the country, some of the demand has relaxed a little bit. It hasn't gone away. Instead of seeing 15 offers on a great property, we're seeing 5. But we're still in an era right now where double-digit price increases on homes, as well as really significant increases in rental prices across the country, really leave little alternative. It's not like people have an option. Well, we're not going to buy a home right now. Well, you have to live someplace. So you're either going to pay an increase in the rent of the place that you're renting, or you're going to have to figure out how to get in on the housing market and buy something to get ahead of the curve here, because we're looking down the barrel of, even if prices stop increasing at the rate that they're increasing now, there's a very thin line between where we are as far as financing debt and the cost of those mortgages that could quickly outpace any slowdown in the increase in pricing, or we talked about this last week, potential retraction with home prices coming down. And I've told you to work the math. Even if a house was to come down $20,000 or $50,000 in price, it quickly gets dissipated if you see 0.5% or 1% or more increase in interest rate applied to the loan associated with buying that house. So yes, mortgage applications were down a little bit last week, both on the purchase and the refinance side. And funny thing about my business is when things start to slow down or the numbers don't keep going higher, this is when my email box starts to fill up with inquiries from mortgage companies and managers and loan officers about help, because such a high percentage of people in our industry had banner years last year, and they're looking at where they are now, and the numbers aren't close. And some of them have been associated with or know of my work or are with companies that I have relationships with. And they're seeing that the people that I'm working with are at or better than last year's numbers and pulling through 60, 70, 80% or more purchase business in their numbers, which becomes very attractive for some people. And again, it is an opportunity, and I'm not saying that people shouldn't be paying attention to refinances, because I think, let's face it, if you're in the best mortgage market that you're likely to see in your career, you should take advantage of all of it and make sure you're banking the money. But the reality of this is your business long term is going to be built. Your longevity in this business of being able to stay in this business is to have a relationship-based business that can generate you the amount of transactions you need for the lifestyle that you'd like to have on an ongoing basis, based upon those personal referrals and those database of people that you've built and the systems and the strategies that you use. That's just the fact of what's going to happen. And eventually the loans falling from the sky and the almost free money out there is going to dissipate. It's not going to stop people from buying houses. It's not going to stop people from refinancing, but the overall loan volume and the number of people in this industry is going to change. And where you fit in that puzzle is going to largely depend upon the work that you're doing now, the skills that you're putting in place, the processes that you're using, and the way that you're following up with people and establishing yourself in your industry. So as always, it is a really good time to pay attention to what we're doing, look at the numbers, understand how they impact your community, look at your own numbers, understand where you are, where your business is coming from, and the things that you need to be doing now to make sure that you're prepared, because at some point, the interest rate gravy train is going to disappear. And some of you have not been in the industry when rates were 5 and 6 and 7 and 10%. I'm not saying we're going back to 5 and 6 and 7 and 10%, but many of you can't or complaining or not being able to do business at 3.5%. And for those of you who found their numbers fall off at 3.5% when interest rates went up a little bit, you got a warning to say, maybe what you're doing isn't what you're supposed to be doing. Maybe there are some things I need to be doing to put myself into a better position, because I'll tell you right now, if you struggle to hit the numbers that you wanted to hit at 3.5%, you'd better really think twice about what you're going to do at 4.5%. So anyway, as always, you can reach out to me, Mike at imtcoaching.com. Hope you guys have a great week. We'll talk to you again real soon. Bye-bye.